What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jarrett Wilson, joined by Rachel Mogan.
How's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. Well, actually, I'm pretty tired. You're not gonna lie.
Well, you know, we've been very busy
We have
for
been
the
very
past
busy.
couple of weekends, but I think it's time, Jarrett, for you to suck it up and soldier through.
Well, you know, I was up till like 3 a.m. yesterday.
I was
this
too
morning, I guess.
gaming.
Technically,
I'm just kidding. Not
I was
really.
not. I was working because
I went to bed at a reasonable hour.
this last couple of weekends, it's been the Austin City Limits Music Festival here in Austin, and my wife who does marketing for a local pharmacy chain, who then that pharmacy chain puts on, they like run these stores.
It's the general store,
Basically,
from
they
the
call
olden
it
times.
ACL Bodega is what they call them, the official name of these.
They
And
should have
so
just called it the general store.
They used to be,
It was
actually.
made out of planks.
they used to call them the general store, but then apparently, like in a rebrand, C3 decided
for
to call them
God's
like
sake.
bodegas and all that stuff. But anyway, so ACL's last 2 weekends, Sam was heavily involved she was running the show basically for those bodegas and everything like that. And so I was working a few shifts. Mogan actually worked a shift. We worked a shift together. So
we
if you were
worked
at ACL
together.
and you went to one of these bodegas and you were like, those two, they look familiar, they sound familiar.
You
Where do
know-
I know them from? You know them from here.
You
Team
know
Chat
who I
Podcast.
really hope just happens to watch an episode of Team Chat and is like, those people, is that shaved head, really drunk guy who bought deodorant right in front of us with no shirt on and then proceeded to just put
to
it on.
put on his deodorant,
right
yeah.
in front of us.
was awesome.
And then walk away.
It was awesome. It was a great time.
I
It was a
hope
great
he
time. It was a lot of
sees
fun.
an episode.
But, you know,
boy.
separate from that experience, Sam absolutely crushed it and she did an amazing job. So if you did go to ACL, you know who to thank for keeping a steady supply of supplies and food and snacks.
Well, the
for you.
reason she's so good at it is because she got to practice with Overcooked.
That's
and
true.
Overcooked too.
That's true.
She's just top tier at this.
Gaming helps everything.
It does.
It really
True
does.
facts.
It really does. But games are great, and games are a lot of fun, and that's what we like to talk about here on Team Chat Podcast, a weekly video gaming show where we talk about games, the ones we love, the ones we hate, and everything in between. New episodes come out every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, and you can listen to those across podcast services around the World Wide Web. You can also watch a video version on YouTube and Twitch. Twitch ones, obviously, because of the different new streaming rules with not being able to upload videos in advance for Premiere on Twitch anymore if you're not in affiliate status, which sadly we are not yet. But we usually try to stream those in either Tuesday morning or Wednesday, but I put out alerts, send tweets, and all that stuff, because you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, as well as join our Discord server if you want more Team Chat podcast goodness. You can also, if you're really loving and enjoying what we're creating, head over to patreon.com/teamchatpodcast, where it's for as little as $1 a month. You can support the show, and in return, we'll give you a cool perk like getting the episodes early before the general Tuesday release on Monday morning instead of Tuesday morning, and access to our private channel on our Discord server solely for patrons of the show, the Rogues Gallery. It's a
Early
lot of fun.
access is non-inclusive of ACL-related weekends.
Yes.
Our bad.
So, again, going into a little bit of that, we're recording on a Monday night, so technically this episode is not, but, I was nice. I put it out there early. I told everyone what to expect. I
And
said,
they
hey, guys.
pitch-torched us anyways.
I know.
We
It's a cruel world we live in.
can't soothe the mob.
But yeah, this is definitely not the norm for us. But due to ACL weekends, yeah. So we were in the park last night until 3. It was about 2:33 after we finally finished loading out all the
I was
stuff.
not. I was
yeah, you
sleeping
were
in a
not.
sleeping bag indoors.
Preparing for a camping trip. It's a
preparing
very
for a camping
non-gaming
trip.
activity.
Well, I played Firewatch, you see, which is
There you
basically
go. That
about
basically
camping.
planted the seed. Yeah. No, I get it. One other final announcement before we jump into our moment with Mogan, then our main topics, is like we said last week's episode, we are doing an Extra Life 2018 stream on November 3rd. We did decide finally, we got a little bit more details. We're going to kick it off Saturday morning, the 3rd, at 10 a.m. Central Time. I feel like that's a good time. We can wake up, get some coffee, get some breakfast, be filled, carb up, be ready for a day.
Carbo load.
Yeah, carbo load up for the day. Be ready for an intense 24 hours of gaming. But we'll go from 10 a.m. Saturday to 10 a.m. Sunday, doing a lot of good streaming stuff in between. We're going to have some fun little perks thrown in there for if we hit certain donation goals. We're also going to have some fun listeners and friends of the show pop in for different time slots, so you'll be able to get a bit more Team Chat community involvement, basically like that. So we know we got a couple people lined up for that as well. So it's going to be a ton of fun. We hope to see you all there, and obviously, too, we hope that we'll be able to hit our goals for that as well. So we'll be doing more information as it gets closer as to where you can donate, all that different stuff. But that's just for now. That's the start time, and that's what you can expect. So it's
Instead of hosting or joining up with other streamers that we like or like friends of the show, I would rather we passive aggressively host people we hate, like our enemies. Be like,
I have no enemies.
You're just so likable.
I'm friends with everyone.
Friends
Everyone
with
likes
everyone.
me. It's
for
great.
God's sake.
Oh, man. So anyway, so be looking forward to that. November 3rd, again, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time is when our 2018 Extra Life stream will be kicking off. Hope to see you there. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Indeed.
All right. But let's get some news. What's coming out
right.
lately? What's happened in the video game industry? I need to know.
News and such.
I've been at ACL
So,
bodegas. I know nothing.
well, yeah. So as far as it's been a pretty slow news week for starters, but we've got Lego DC Supervillains coming out for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC as of this episode's air date, October 16th. We also have Starlink Battle for Atlas coming out for PS1, Xbox, PS4.
PS1, we're going back in
Yes,
time.
PS1.
We're going. It's a retro game.
PS4,
I like it.
Xbox One, and Switch. Again, that is October 16. We have Warriors Orochi 4 for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. October 16. For Honor Marching Fire.
Yeah.
So I gather this is a For Honor expansion. I'm a DLC pack.
It is. It's so they've gone through like their first year of content from the game because that would have been, I guess, back in February, I believe, is when that would have hit. Would have been the year mark of that, or was it 2 years now? I don't know. But anyway, so this is first big major expansion. They're going to be introducing a new faction, basically, of fighters. So there'll be 4 new fighters all coming in, and it's and apparently also going to be like a big graphic overhaul and different stuff like that too. So it's going to be a pretty expansive thing.
Nice. All right,
Expansive
so-
expansion.
Indeed. So For Honor Marching Fire for PS4, Xbox One, and PC October 16th. A game that I forgot wasn't out yet because of EVO. Like, they really threw me. Soul Calibur 6. The new, yeah, right? So it's weird because a lot of the times in fighting game tournaments, to basically get hyped for a new game, they've done this with Smash a couple of times.
Right.
They'll allow it to like preliminarily be played at like a big tournament and just do it on like an invitation basis. So as it turns out, Soul Calibur 6 is coming out also on October 19th.
I did forget
So
about
a couple
that one.
days later for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. And then I'm actually not sure if this is correct. I'll have to double check this one. I feel like maybe it already came out. Dark Souls Remastered comes to Switch?
I believe that is right.
October 19th?
Yeah.
Gosh, I thought it was already out. Okay.
No, because remember, it came out for PS4 and Xbox One, then the
I
Switch
knew
version
they
got
delayed
delayed.
it, but I couldn't remember how long they delayed it for.
Yeah, it was a couple months now
Okay.
because they came out for PS4 and Xbox One
Well,
back
since
in
I
the
bought
summer.
it for PS4, I just like it went away
Yeah,
from
you're
my
done.
mind.
Yeah, you don't need.
All right. Well,
don't need it
anyway,
on
so
that
that's
Switch.
coming to Switch October 19th.
Very nice.
And that's all of our out now and coming soon.
Boom. Okay, so we did have a couple other. Whoa, I'm just throwing
Sir.
stuff around. Oh my god. We did have a couple other quick little stories. I remember my second one because I remember before we started recording, I was like, I know there was another second story that I could not remember, and it happened in the past. So the other one happened actually today as of this recording. So we'll go with the older one first. But Gods be praised. Sony finally announced that you're going to be able to change your online ID in the Sony PlayStation Network. Very soon.
Because I made the joke that you could finally change your terrible gamer tag of
terrible.
Dogtown Warrior
Terrible.
to Dogetown Warrior.
No, I'm abandoning that name completely. Gonna move on
Wait,
to
have you decided what you're going to go with?
See, I don't. I have an idea, but
Oh,
I don't want to.
Jared.
I don't want to say it though until it's confirmed when I'll be able to do it. Because I don't want some other jackwagon to jump onto the PlayStation Network and take that name.
What we
before I
really
can
need to
change
do
it.
is like leave it in the hands of the patrons and like let them submit ideas and then they can vote on them.
See, but then what if I get stuck with another one?
You
that I'm not-
might get stuck with Dogetown Warrior because I'm going to submit that and then I'm going to vote for it a lot.
I like the idea of that, but I don't know if I want to
Be a man, Jared.
Oh man, so that is a feature that I've been incredibly looking forward to. So a little bit more information on it because yes, I hate my my name.
It's a bad name.
It's a bad
Jared.
name. It's a really bad
What's
name.
funny is that for people like me who already have perfect PSN names, I don't have to make any changes. It's
don't,
already
yeah.
amazing.
Because-
but
so-
for poor plebes like you,
Backstory on this: I'm terrible about talking about picking and creating names for these things. It took us forever to even think of Team Chat Podcast for this show.
Really did.
So out of just a desperation of days, hours of trying to think of a name for me to use on my PSN profile name, I eventually, and this was years ago that I said this. I finally just one day could not think of anything. And I happened to be watching with Sam. I was watching Lords of Dogtown, a skateboarding movie. If anyone else has seen it, Johnny Knoxville's in it, Emil Hirsch, different other people like that. But
the
anyway,
embarrassment.
so I was like, okay. And then I've always been like into like, obviously medieval history. I've talked about that a lot. So I was like, I wanted to incorporate that somehow. So I was like, Warrior, Dogtown Warrior. That sounds so cool. Fun fact though, I've never skated in my life.
It's just baffling
Every time I
that you would
stand
choose
on a
that name.
skateboard, I have fallen off. The only time I've skateboarded is done as like an 8-year-old kid sitting down on the board and like riding down a long hill.
Jared,
I have
come
no
on.
ability for skateboarding at all. So why I thought this would be a good idea for me to combine the two, Dogtown Warrior, make it sound like I'm a badass skateboarder. It's
I
terrible.
like that you didn't even think to base it off of any of the other games that you like Civilization, for example.
You know, yeah.
You could have
That's what I
gone
mean.
with-
I'm literally terrible at
You
picking
could have
these
been like
names.
Milord Jarrett's Stronghold. It could have been amazing.
Yeah, I know. I know. But you know, it's just what I went
You
with,
gotta
and now I'm
go
stuck
with
with
Milord
it.
Jarrett.
And then that's honestly the top runner. No one steal it, please. I
No,
really
I
want
shouldn't
it.
have said it. We can cut this part out. We'll cut this part out.
Oh man. But
but I don't think it'll let you do apostrophes. So it wouldn't really work.
It wouldn't work as well, so I'd have to figure it out. Yeah, it's like, how would I want the spelling? Would I want it to be am I Lord Jarrett? So you still got, I mean, it could still work with even no I or E. It could still be just Milord Jarrett, you
Milord.
know, and all that stuff. Alluding to my love of Stronghold games and all that stuff, you know, and how
Oh,
I like
please
to.
name yourself Cal Malady.
Oh my God.
That would be so funny.
That's a good idea.
I have so many good ideas, Jared.
That's a good idea right
Yes.
there. And so now, like, I know on Xbox you have the ability, which mine now on there is Dogtown_Warrior. Or no, it's Dogtown Warrior, all one word, I believe, on Xbox, and it's Dogtown_Warrior on PSN. And you know, Xbox, you can change your name.
You
but I
have to
didn't
pay a fee, though, right?
Right, but I didn't. I think your first one's free, but then after that, you have to pay a fee. But I've never wanted to do it, so that way I'm easily identifiable and can be found across all platforms. So that's why I haven't done it yet until I could do it on both. But now the day has arrived. But so a little bit of information on this before. So this is from a PlayStation blog article by Sid Schumann. PSN Online ID change feature entering PlayStation preview program soon. So the preview program to kick off soon with full rollout for all PS4 users planned for early 2019. So the day is fast upon us. It's going to be great.
Very nice.
But basically, the basic details on this is during the preview program, you will be able to change your online ID as many times as you want. The first change is free, and changes after that will cost $9.99 USD and Canadian dollars. For PlayStation Plus members, it will only cost $4.99 US and
that's
Canadian.
a sweet little benefit.
That is
Okay.
nice. After the first change, changes to online ID can be made through the settings menu or via the profile page of your PS4. So basically, though, there is a little thing though that it could have some issues with compatible games from like older generation of consoles. So like some PS3 games that might get a little wonky with like saves, trophies, and all that different stuff.
Oh, okay.
But for PS4 and everything and ongoing, obviously, you shouldn't have any issues or run
Right.
into anything at all. So look for that. I'm super excited about that. It's going to be a great old time to finally have a new name that I like.
Yeah, that's awesome. And they're basically matching and through the PS Plus discount, kind of beating what Microsoft already does with
Yeah,
their...
I mean, $5 to be able to do it. I mean, granted,
that's
I'm not going to be
pretty
changing my
nice.
name every day.
Yeah.
Unless I want to be one of those people who, I guess they set up new accounts or they just went their first time, but they like name their character. Like how many people, like when Overwatch first came out that you've played against that were like their names were based off Overwatch characters?
Right.
I'm going to be like, I'm playing Black Ops. So I'm going to be like, Jared Black Ops, man. Or something like that. You know, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But I mean, $5, I can change my name a lot.
I'm never changing my name. I know
You've got
who
a great,
I am.
yeah, you've got a great name. Livitz Liv. It's a great
Livitz.
one. It's a great
You know,
one.
everybody online says Lavitz, and I don't know why.
Because they're dumb.
They are dumb. They didn't play the greatest game of all time.
Didn't. They missed out. I only know just because I've heard
The hearsay,
the tales
the
of Legend of
the
Dragoon.
legends of the Legend of Dragoon.
The Legends of Dragoon. Exactly. So I know all about it. I know I'm with you on how to say it.
That's going to be what I title the reboot game, The Legends of the Legend of Dragoon.
It's a good name. I like it. I like
It
it.
really, really rolls off the tongue.
It does. Okay, so the other bit of news is this one actually came out today. I saw the story first this morning that apparently in a interview with New York Magazine, co-founder of Rockstar Games, Dan Houser, came out saying or suggested that there were about that they at one point in the game's development, even though the game has been developed or like being blah, I'll spit this out. Again, I'm tired. ACL bodegas. But they hinted at, or he suggested that at one point in the development cycle, workers were putting in 100-hour weeks working on this. Now, obviously, we're just came out of the fallout of Telltale being shut down, and obviously that due to mismanagement and how, bringing back the argument that game industry workers should be looking at unionizing and possibly getting that going so that stuff like this doesn't happen. Obviously, crunch has always been a big problem. That like they have this deadline, they feel like they have to hit it, so they're requiring people to work and just put in insane hours to get this stuff done.
And in many cases, not paying them overtime.
Exactly.
That's a crime.
Yeah.
Like that should be a crime. And I think
it's just
that's
not
one
great.
of the key
It's not a
reasons
great part.
to unionize. Boo.
And
Boo
so
to that.
obviously he said that, and the people obviously reacted with, "What? No.
What
this
do you
isn't
mean
good."
people
I
have
saw
been
I saw a couple people even putting out polls on Twitter being like, "Are you still planning on buying Red Dead 2?" Knowing this news and all this stuff, because
of course I am. People probably died to make this game. I have to honor their
That's kind of the
memory.
point. And like in my head, I was like, I get not buying it so that they don't do this, but also these could have been very knee-jerk reactions to just hearing the news and being like, no, that's bad, without knowing any more backstory.
Right.
But then also at the same time, it's like, but these people did put in so much work, and I feel like they should get rewarded for that. And if you don't buy the game, then they lose their
How
job.
much would it suck if you put in 100-hour work weeks on your game and then people found out about that and then didn't buy the game?
Yeah, it'd be pretty bad.
That would
I'd
be
be
like
mad.
a real backhanded slap to the face.
It's like, I'm doing this for you, but you're not.
but you're hurting me.
Stop it.
Stop it.
But anyway, so he came out. Dan Houser again came out later this afternoon and clarified his statements. And so this is from a Polygon article. Rockstar responds to blowback over Red Dead Redemption 2 team's 100-hour work weeks. This is by Allegra Frank. And so basically, Houser came back out today and he said, so this is his quote, "There seems to be some confusion arising from my interview with Harold Goldberg in New York Magazine. After working on the game for 7 years, the senior writing team, which consists of 4 people, Mike Unsworth, Rupert Humphreys, Laszlo, which I believe is...
What a fun name.
He was referenced, Laszlo Jones is another writer. And myself, Dan Houser, had, as we always do, 3 weeks of intense work where we wrapped everything up. 3 weeks, not years. We have all worked together for at least 12 years now and feel we need this to get everything finished. After so many years of getting things organized and ready on this project, we needed this to check and finalize everything. More importantly, we obviously don't expect anyone else to work this way. Across the whole company, we have some senior people who work very hard purely because they're passionate about a project or their particular work, and we believe that passion shows in the games we release. But that additional effort is a choice, and we don't ask or expect anyone to work anything like this. Lots of other senior people work in an entirely different way and are just as productive. I'm just not one of them. No one, senior or junior, is ever forced to work hard. Oh, that's good to know. I want to work at Rockstar then. Apparently, you can just coast. My words, not Dan's.
Put that on your resume when you apply.
Dan said,
Dan said it would be fine if I put in minimum
and I wouldn't
effort.
be forced. But he concludes with, I believe we go to great lengths to run a business that cares about its people and to make the company a great place for them to work. And, from Rockstar's track record, that seems to make sense. You really don't hear many controversies or anything coming out of Rockstar.
You don't. And especially in the case of senior management, obviously one of the behind the scenes things that I assume probably is true is typically for completing a major project, most corporations or businesses give their top level execs bonuses.
Right.
So they probably are going to get some sort of compensation, I assume in the form of a cash bonus, a monetary bonus for putting in all of these extra hours.
And to say too, he says that it's not enforced, but to look at this in a slightly devil's advocate way of sure, he's saying it's not enforced, but maybe there's still pressure put on people.
Oh,
So
yeah,
this doesn't
of course.
necessarily clear them of saying this doesn't happen.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
But it does shed a little bit more light on it, which I think was necessary due to a lot of the knee-jerk reactions I was seeing on Twitter and other outlets talking about how bad this is.
Right.
Because obviously, if Rockstar as a whole is forcing people to do 100+ hour work weeks, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, no one should be working that
Delay the
long.
game
Yeah,
if it's not ready.
exactly.
But it is cool, just a little bit of facts, though, that he does that Houser was talking about in his interview with New York Magazine about the game. He said that if the magazine is, and this is in the Polygon article still, Houser told the magazine that the entire script of Red Dead Redemption 2, if stacked, quote, would be 8 feet high, and that the game features 500,000 lines of dialogue.
Oh my
the
God.
game's NPCs have 80-page scripts, said writer Laszlo Jones.
Man, what do I have to do to become a voice actor for an NPC in Red
Seriously,
Dead? Right?
I would do it. I mean, I could, I can sound Western.
I'll
if I
make
need to.
small
I can sound like a
talk.
cowboy. Giddy up, pony boy, stay golden, all that stuff. Or it's high noon.
we'll just do our best McCree impressions and it'll be fine.
Back into the mix. It's all good.
Ooh, no, I'm gonna do my best Reba McEntire impression.
Oh, okay.
She's my country lady
Do
role
it.
model.
I wanna hear it.
No, I can't. I have to practice. She deserves to be respected.
Howdy, y'all.
But she does not sound like that.
I know,
you
that was just
bastard.
me. That was just me
Slap
doing
you
it.
in the face.
Howdy.
Ooh, or Dolly Parton.
Giddy up,
I
little
love
prairie
them.
dogs.
Okay, I don't
just
think
trying
anybody
out.
says that.
Prairie
First of all, that's offensive to prairie dogs.
They need to know to hurry along, too. You know, you can't just herd cows. Sometimes you got to herd the prairie dogs, too.
So, sure.
Sure. But anyways, that's all the stories that I had.
Sir,
My goodness.
what is up with
I'm
you
sorry.
today?
I told you.
I know,
sleepy.
I'm just kidding.
But the main topic of today, like I said, another reason we're recording on Monday is because I needed more time to get into this game here a little bit. And that is, I'm going to start off with my first impressions, now that it's actually out and no longer playing in beta, of Call of Duty Black Ops 4. A couple episodes back, a few weeks ago, I did talk about the beta of the Blackout, the new Battle Royale version, and I went into that pretty extensively. So I'm not going to focus on that as much, more just the other mechanics and parts of the game.
And just to clarify, one of the more unique factors of this game is that it does not have a single player campaign mode.
Right.
Is that correct?
It is. So I guess that's a good place to start, because that's what everybody was really talking about. And one of the things that really did stir everyone's ire, I guess, about this is that, yeah, they said several months before the game's release that there was not going to be a single player campaign for this, which there's always been one in Call of Duty. And a lot of people saw it as like another nail in the coffin of single player games. You know, like when that started coming out with a lot of the fallout of Battlefield 2, is everybody's like, what, single player games are dying, but obviously they're not, because we've had God of War, we're about to have Red Dead Redemption 2, Spider-Man, all these other big games. So that's not a real fear. But still, a lot of people were like, wait, is this another just advancement in that we're starting to turn away from this? But honestly, in my opinion, the campaigns of Call of Duty lately have not been that great.
And I mean, from an outsider perspective, as someone that has never played Call of Duty, I have never once thought of Call of Duty as an entity as being a single player game,
Right.
ever.
It's
It
always
has
been
always
multiplayer.
existed in my mind as a multiplayer game.
Right.
One that is often trash tier, but it's primarily a multiplayer game. And I do feel like that has always been Call of Duty's primary market.
Right.
So for them to fully embrace what I assume is their primary market, which is online gaming, why not? Why not trim the fat? Just focus on what you're good at.
Right, and especially because they did put in this new, the new Battle Royale mode. There's a lot more to this game, and honestly, I've been in what I've played with it so far. I don't feel like it's missing. So a little bit of backstory in the ones that I've played. Like I played Call of Duty World War II multiplayer, though. Like I haven't even touched its campaign yet, and it came out over a year ago, or almost a year ago.
Because
early
why
November.
would you? Why would you play it?
I don't know. Like I haven't got around to it. I've been playing other story.
No, that's
based
what I'm
things.
saying. I'm saying, why would you play
Yeah, when I've
a
got, like-
subpar single player campaign
Right.
when there are better options out there?
Like at that time, Assassin's Creed Origins and stuff like that. Now I've got Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So I don't need this Black Ops 4 single player campaign. I
You
got
really
Assassin's
don't.
Creed.
Exactly.
But honestly, and so they came out though, and they did talk about a bunch of the different reasons about, saying that like it's just an advancement in the development cycle. They're trying something new, and honestly, so far from what I've played, I feel like it pays off, because what was it? Infinite Warfare was the one before World War II, and its story was not well received. Black Ops 3, I think, was the last campaign that I did play of a Call of Duty game, and it was bad. I talked about it before a little bit. It just wasn't good. It was so. It just seemed to be going everywhere, but didn't tell a cohesive story. They had a lot of like stars in it, like Christopher Maloney, Katie Sackhoff, and a couple other people.
Did we talk about that one when we did Games We Hate?
I think we talked about it when we did Best and Worst in a series.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so, honestly, I'm okay with it. I understand like some people might be upset and might be missing it, but we now have, instead of the campaign, we do have the Blackout Battle Royale mode, which is great. And so I will also go ahead and just touch on that very briefly. It's not a whole lot different from the beta, from what I talked about. So if you want to hear my thoughts on that, go back, listen to that
Do
episode.
the piles of coal look any better?
That was Battlefield 5.
Oh, okay. My bad.
The graphics do look a little bit better, I feel like, from the beta. Again, I'm not playing on PC. I mean, I'm playing on Xbox One, so it's very, so I don't get quite as much graphical power as there would be with a PC or
Burn.
different stuff like that.
Point for somebody else other than
or
Xbox.
even maybe an Xbox One X or PS4 Pro. But it still looks great, and it still runs very well. I actually haven't had a crash in that at all. since I've been playing it. They small different things like I noticed now that you do have the ability when you loot an eliminated player, if you loot them, you can, if they had armor that was badly damaged, you can sometimes loot now scraps of metal that will repair your armor, which was not in the beta.
That's nice.
The one thing though is it is seeming to be sticking at 88 players is like still the max right now. So I don't know, because in the beta they were testing around with getting up to 100 eventually. It started I think with 80 or 88 players when the beta launched, and then when near the ends of the beta they did eventually bump it to up to 100. But so far it's not there now, so I don't know if they're still like tweaking things in the background. But I mean, I haven't noticed the difference.
I wonder what the reasoning for that is. Like, is that just a...
Well, it's a big map for one. There's a lot of different varying locations and different things like that. So I'm imagining it's just to help lower server load, because there are also there's vehicles, there's water environments, lots of tall buildings. So I'm assuming it's just to help performance. And as they maybe patch things out and have more development, fine tune it a little bit more, because obviously this is Call of Duty's first foray into the battle royale genre. I'm assuming that I would expect we could see the number go up.
I wonder if in terms of map capacity, like the size of the map, if players like per capita is something that's going into the equation.
I'm sure it has some thought
in theory,
into it. Yeah.
If you're making a massive map, you wouldn't want too many players to be in any one area at any given time.
Right.
So maybe that's part of the reason.
Yeah.
I'd be really interested to actually learn more about what goes into that kind of decision-making process.
We should
like, what's the difference from the developer side of 80 versus 88 versus 100 people?
Right.
That's fascinating.
We should do this.
That
Team Chat investigates.
Team Chat investigates.
So I've still really enjoyed it. I'm actually doing pretty well in it. I haven't won any games yet, but I have had several where I got into the top 5 and several where I've gotten into the top 10, and I've only had a handful of games where I actually didn't kill anybody before I was killed. And I usually average 3 to 4 kills per match. I actually had a match earlier today I was playing just to, still getting my skill, familiarizing myself with it before we did this review and everything. And I actually got 5 kills and everything. 2 of them were in water. It was pretty awesome. It was a good match.
I think when I played the Titanfall 2 beta, I averaged about 1 kill per 5 hours. It was not good.
See, I will say, Black Ops and Titanfall they feel very similar.
Really?
Titanfall 2, I would say, is way more mobile of a multiplayer, like, because you can have the big grapple guns. There is characters in Black Ops 4 that do have a grapple gun. You can use a grapple gun even in Blackout and in normal multiplayer. But just because of how Titanfall is with the mechs and your more advanced armor suits and everything like that, it is a bit more mobile and movement based, but still they kind of have that slick feel to them both, which I really enjoy. So talking about the main multiplayer stuff, there is actually still some story to the multiplayer. So when you start it and you can go to the Specialist HQ, because this does keep the specialist feature from Black Ops 3, which is, instead of just having a nondescript soldier that you play as, you can choose a specialist that have a set skills. I choose right now. I've been playing with Prophet because that's who I've played with in Black Ops 3.
Oh, okay.
He has this once you charge up his special ability, basically his ultimate. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. is this rifle called the Tempest that shoots out an electrical charge and will stun enemies, and you can double tap them with it and it kills them.
That was called the
It's kinda
shock
like a sniper rifle.
in Unreal Tournament.
There you go. Boom. So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
We're on
it's the same
page.
thing.
It's great.
It shoots purple lasers, right?
And so one difference, though, in this one is he also has a shock mine, or seeker mine, which basically is this wheeled vehicle that he just throws out, and it goes out and finds the nearest enemy target, and it will shock them and zap them, and it could even chain and get multiple people if they're in close enough proximity. Then you just run up and shoot them and stuff. It's a really awesome tool. Well, like I said, it still keeps a very fast paced. You have to be moving a lot. There's really not a whole lot of time to sit still. You can like if you're a sniper, there are areas where you can camp and sit it down and like find, post up and have good coverage. But really, you do have to be moving a lot because everybody is very mobile. Everybody is very quick. And with all the different specials and abilities that all these different things have, it lends itself really well to having good team play. I played as another one of the specialists called Crash, who he's more of a medic role. He can drop instead of having the Seeker Mine, he drops an assault pack, basically a lot of ammo, an ammo dump for everybody to come pick up on. His ultimate is he heals like the whole team. He recharges them. Because that is one thing that is different from previous Call of Duties and even previous Black Ops games, is in this one, there is no automatic health regeneration in multiplayer.
Okay. Gotcha.
Same even in Blackout 2.
So you have to get a health pack or have this guy,
because
Crash
everybody
guy.
he can help, but every character does have the left bumper on the controller is your heal button. So you basically stim pack.
Oh, it's
kind
a
of
healing
thing.
surge.
And
Gotcha.
it recharges. So, but it's not, and then you can use it. So you can use it multiple times per life. But if you get shot to 5 health, that's not going to automatically regenerate if you get behind cover and just hide.
Right.
So
okay.
it's an interesting aspect to that, because then also another big change is that each person does not come automatically equipped. Normally in past Call of Duty games, you've had the left bumper has been like your assist explosive device, like a flashbang, concussion grenade, something like that. More of a utility, whereas right bumper has been your grenade, your lethal grenade, basically. This one is not the case, because left bumper is your heal, right bumper is your specialist-specific equipment, like the Seeker Mine or something like that. Some specialists do have, like one, Ajax, he does have a 9-bang, like flash grenade, basically. Other ones do have a normal frag grenade, but you can't. So at the outset, you don't just automatically have those equipped, which is a big difference and something that I'm still having to kind of adjust to, because I still have so many times where I want to throw a flashbang into a room to kind of stun it to see if there's anybody in there, but I can't because I don't have one equipped and my Seeker Mine's not charged up and ready to go.
Right.
So it does have a little bit more gameplay. I feel like it makes you play more aggressive, and you have to be playing and moving and running around more consistently rather than relying on these more old tactics of Call of Duty. So I really feel like it does give it that fresh new feeling, basically, from older Call of Duty games.
It's really funny to describe the previous mechanics as old, though, because I remember back in my day, back in the Lara Croft, like, original games, there was no regenerating health. You had to get a health pack.
That was very much a big thing.
But it was like never
FPS.
a thing where you could hide behind cover and you just naturally regenerate health. This new Lara, man, she's a real wuss. She can't take the hits like old Lara can.
Yeah,
it's just really interesting to like see this trend kind of viewed from the newer consumer as a new mechanic, when in reality it's actually kind of an older one making a comeback.
Which is cool.
I think it's cool.
Cyclical.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really neat idea to take away the crutch of the new gamer.
Yeah. I definitely like it. It definitely feels, because you have to get to cover to do your stim pack, or to get your health recharged, or you just blaze of glory.
I really wish that instead of like a cool looking action movie kind of stim pack, that you just like had to get out a box of Band-Aids and you just ouchies. You have like a little Neosporin spray.
Guys, don't hurt me really quick. I'm healing.
That would be so funny.
That would be really funny. So I feel like that in and of itself has breathed a lot of fresh air, a breath of fresh air, basically, into the game, because it just makes you have to rethink and retool what you're used to with the game. And it's in a small way, too. It's not like they did this all huge overhaul of it and everything. It's just a small little tweak. The normal perk system is back, where you can have 10 slots, basically. Then you can, once you unlock the ability to make custom classes, which is not until you hit level 5 in multiplayer, and then you can start messing around. But you have 10 slots. You can fill those out and change and customize as much as you want. And you unlock more things the more you play, obviously. Standard multiplayer advancement, basically. They do have some new modes. Now, granted, I know these aren't in World War II, and they weren't in Black Ops 3. So I'm assuming these are new modes for Black Ops 4. Control and Heist. Now, they've always had Domination, which is where there are 3 points in the map. You hold them and try to hold them for as long as you can while the enemy comes in, reclaims, and then you have to go back and reclaim. This one is, there are 2 spots, A and B, in Control. And you would be defending them or attacking them, basically. And the rounds would be if they were able to secure one or both of the spots. And so it's just kind of like, it's similar to domination because it's still like area control basically.
Right.
But it just is a new way because they also have hardpoint, which is where this ever changing location on the map that you have to hold is another mode, which that's been very constant in Call of Duty for years now. But this is just like another fun little spin on it.
Gotcha.
And I liked it a lot. The other one, Heist, I had a lot of fun with.
It sounds really fun. Is it just like Ocean's 8?
Yes. It is exactly like that. Danny Ocean comes on screen. He's telling you exactly what you're going to have to do, and and there you go, and you go off and accomplish your mission. But it is not turn based, but
does it play like a traditional JRPG where like you've got 4 guys and you've got your menu?
That'd be really funny.
That'd be really funny.
But no, it plays more in rounds. That's the word I was looking for. Where they're potentially, it's the best of 4, whoever can win 4. So technically there would be 8 to 9 rounds, potential rounds. And you can be knocked down and then eliminated, and you don't respawn until the next round, basically. But there's this cache that you got to grab in the map, and then you'll go to like an extraction place, and you'll have to try to extract it all before that your whole team is either you eliminate the other team or the enemy team eliminates all of you, or if you're able to extract it before they kill you. And so it just was a little bit more. It's one that is fun even while playing with randoms, but could be a lot of fun if you were with a group of your friends and like really communicating and talking about like how to attack it and all that stuff. So because the thing about it too that was really cool is you start off with just a pistol. Everybody starts off with a pistol, and then you have $500 that you can then spend to buy either like a flashbang, a new weapon. And then after each round, you get more money so you can unlock more and more stuff.
Who's in charge of the money decisions? Like, is there a treasurer of the team?
Not appointed. I'm imagining it's just an algorithm.
I wish that at the beginning of every game you had to hold like elections of who got to be treasurer.
That'd be pretty fun. But so that was a really fun new mode that I really enjoyed playing. And so, it's got your standard team deathmatch, free for all, domination, hardpoint, like you said. Then there are also hardcore modes, which basically are like you get shot once and you die. So, of several of these modes. So it's a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed that. Let's see. What else do I got here?
I do have a very important question.
Yes.
So this is the most important part of the game for me.
Okay.
What are the romancing options like?
There are none. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, I can't play this game. It's a hard no from me.
But to circle back real quick to one thing about saying that there was still kind of a story. If you go to the specialist, this one area of the game called Specialist HQ, you can choose to do trainings with all the different training missions with all the different specialists, so you can understand how to use their abilities and how to work well with all the others. And those do have like some cutscenes and tie back in to the previously established storylines of the Black Ops games.
Okay.
So there is a slight campaign mode,
but it's more like
just like tied into the multiplayer, kind of a la Overwatch comics.
You might say that it's more like
Overwatch
adding characterization as opposed to adding a plot per se.
Right, exactly. So you do get a slight story, just not what you would expect from a normal campaign mode.
Which again, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Call of Duty really has no business trying to tell great stories.
Well, because it's
just not their forte.
This one is really set up, I feel like, to be more of an esport. Like they've done esports before. They have the Call of Duty World League and all that. So with Blackout, the Blackout mode is awesome. I'm going to be spending so much time there. The multiplayer in and of itself is very much the multiplayer that I like. Because even though the campaign of Black Ops 3 was not very good, the multiplayer was great. And the mechanics and and I mean, to be fair, Call of Duty multiplayer and gameplay and combat and gunplay and all that has been very good. That's always been one of the hallmarks of the series. So it's good to kind of have a great feeling multiplayer and everything. And the Black Ops adds that new dimension. The zombies mode, there is the zombies mode. I've never really played that much. I did play a little bit of it today and before this, just so I could talk about it a little bit. It does throw in some new things, like you can make, and this could be new to me, not necessarily new to the series, but just because I don't play it really. But you can make like custom loadouts. There are some new power ups and everything there now. Like it has like these god abilities that you can unlock. But like you can go find these like shrines that basically will grant a special ability or something to your team by undoing it. But it's still
like the power of Christ compels you?
No, it's more the power of
Oh.
Ra or the power
Oh.
of Zeus compels you.
Oh.
Kind of stuff like that. Not necessarily Jesus
Fascinating.
Christ.
I really wish it were just like exorcising the dead. That'd be really funny.
but it holds some of the old characters from the zombies past zombies campaigns and past Black Ops campaigns. And so I played it. It's fun. Not necessarily my cup of tea, but I understand. I see the attraction because it is the horde based, like horde
Right.
mode shooter, which that's fun. It can be fun to dally around.
If you're
into
into
that, which is not necessarily. I'm all about the blackout mode.
If there were a special mode for Call of Duty, any of them,
Mm-hmm.
where you were just one lone guy going into a town and your job was just to exorcise demons, I would be all about that.
That would be a good
you're
spooky
still
game.
in your regular, like army outfit,
Right.
but you just also happen to have like a little crucifix, and
Do
you're
you
like
have
the
like
power
the
of
priest collar?
No,
No,
you're just
you don't
a
have that.
regular dude. You're just like rolling
I'd play that.
around trying to exorcise. You maybe aren't even good at it,
Yeah.
but you can try.
There we go.
You can try to save
I'd
their
play that game.
souls.
I'd play that game.
I have ideas. Who makes Call of Duty?
Activision,
I have ideas, Activision.
Treyarch, Infinity Ward, and Sledgehammer.
Yeah, give me a call. I've got some super things that you should listen to.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's really it. Like I said, it's being that it is a multiplayer game. The more I play, the more I'll probably unlock and figure out, especially as I play with more specialists, play more in the modes and figure out how to more fine tune those. And as I get farther into the blackout mode, see what they do with that, how it changes and progresses over time. Because I'm sure it's going to be like Fortnite, PUBG. As it goes out more, they'll roll out more changes, more patches, and different things like that. So as I play, more things come up that I'm like, you know what, I need to talk about that. I will. But for now, if you're a fan of Call of Duty and you have loved previous Black Ops titles and you're loving Battle Royale, I would say give it a go.
All right.
Because I think it's
You think it's a solid
I think it's a
addition.
solid addition. I've had a ton of fun playing it because like I said, the gameplay mechanics and everything of Call of Duty have always been fun. But even playing World War II, the last year's Call of Duty edition, it's just not. I don't know. It's just not hitting the buttons. Yeah, I don't know. Which is weird because that's what Call of Duty started as, not this like futuristic shooter. But I mean, I guess there's evolution and development and changes that happen in any games. You know, like we're seeing with the Assassin's Creed series and how the big changes that it's taking. But I don't know. This one feels right again. It kind of feels to me like I did with Titanfall 2. Like
You've
it's
come
just,
home.
Yeah, that really is a good way to put it. So if you're into that, play Black Ops 4. It's a great time. And if you want to play with me on Xbox, do so.
Dogtown Warrior.
Dogtown Warrior. All one word. There you go.
Word.
You can play with me. Join. I even have you'll know it's me because I put this as like you can do the clan tag and I did TCP. So
Nice.
if you want to be part of Team Chat podcast, hit me up. Let's do this.
Now when people see you on the enemy team, they're going to be like, oh boy. That guy.
Everybody shoot that guy.
Everybody shoot that guy.
All right. Well, so
man.
that's basically all I have on that. What are you going to be talking about today?
So, speaking of coming home, I'm kind of backtracking a little bit to make my own convenient segue.
Okay.
Part of course, my favorite thing about fall, which I'm putting fall in some big air quotes here because in
Notice
Texas...
we're both wearing long sleeves.
Yeah, now
I'm in
we
a hoodie.
are actually
It's
both
great.
wearing long sleeves, but most of the time in Texas... we don't get like cold or chilly weather in fall.
No.
We get a little bit of it in January, maybe a little in February, and then we're back into like spring and summer.
Right, which is
so
like 100
it
degrees.
is fascinating then that all of a sudden it is cold and rainy and like legitimately fall-esque here.
It's
and it's
amazing.
like, oh my God.
Today's
what-
literally the first day of sweater weather here.
It really is.
great.
What perfect weather then to really pick up and really start investing a lot of time into one of my favorite genres of gaming, horror games. And not even, I'm using the word horror in a very broad sense. I apply that to anything that is even mildly spooktacular. I mean, it can just be environmentally spooky. Like, for example, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, that wasn't necessarily a horror game except for the one jump scare that really got me.
That minor.
It was primarily based on atmosphere, all the way up to games that are just like pure horror, like Amnesia series, for example. So the game that I've been playing recently really was a recommendation by Bro Mogan, and he's really enjoying it as well. I think he's farther than I am, but I'm going to be talking today about Night in the Woods. which, if you're not familiar with Night in the Woods, this is, actually, I pulled up some information on it just so that we can give credit where
Little
credit
facts.
is due. So, Night in the Woods, circa 2017. This game was developed by Infinite Fall. I was going to say Infinite Lab. I don't know why I would say that. But yeah, how appropriate. Fall, right? Anyways, I don't think that has anything to do with their developer name. But it's from Infinite Fall, and the art directors in particular that I want to highlight are Scott Benson and Charles Huetner. Sure hope I said that right. And then on the writing team, again, another big strength of the game is Bethany Hockenberry and Scott Benson again.
Good old Scott Benson.
Yeah, so good old Scott Benson and Bethany Hockenberry. What a fun name. So this is a indie game for starters, or at least what I would consider to be an indie game. If I'm not mistaken, I could be remembering this wrong, but I think Night in the Woods may have been nominated at least for a couple of indie game related awards.
That sounds right.
If you want to look that up for me while I talk more about the game, if you're not familiar with Night in the Woods, it is, first of all, a very short game. I think you could probably finish it in maybe like, if you really stretched it out, or well, if you did it very quickly, maybe like 6 hours. If you really stretched it out, more like 8 to 10. So it's definitely not a long game. It's much more of a short, long weekend experience, you might say. And as far as the game story is concerned, you're kind of people, but not really, because the art style of the game has everybody as anthropomorphic animals. So, like, they're humans, and they act very humanoid. It's not like people meow or hiss like snakes or anything like that, but everybody is based off of an animal. So you play as main character May Borowski? I might be remembering her last name wrong, but her first name is May, M-A-E, and she is an anthropomorphic cat. And she's about 20 years old, and the whole premise of the game is that she has just come home, because she dropped out of college.
Segue comes back around.
Segue. It's coming back around. We're coming home, you guys. So the entire start of the game is you are May getting off a bus in your old town, Possum Springs. And it's late at night. She gets off the bus. No one is in the bus station at all except for a janitor. Her family, her parents, her mom and dad, got her return date wrong, so they're not even at the bus station to pick her up. And I guess there's no cell phone reception in Possum Springs because, like, there's a payphone on the wall, but somebody ripped off the phone, you know, as you do, as people are wont to do.
Right, because who needs payphones
So
anymore?
she can't even really, like, call her parents, so she's like, welp, guess I'll walk. And the entire game's play is very simplistic, and I really wouldn't say anything to brag about. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that the gameplay mechanics aren't the feature of the game.
Right.
You know, you're not playing it for really tight controls like in speedrunning games or killer platformers like Celeste, for example. It's not that kind of game, although it is technically a platformer. So the artistic stylings are fantastic. The characters are all designed very thoughtfully, very unique. I don't think I've yet seen two characters that looked exactly the same. Like, May is a cat. Her parents are both cats, and they kind of look like older versions of her. There are bird people. One of her best friends is a fox, I think. Another's like a bear. So I think one's an alligator, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not entirely on the fence about whether or not I think she's an alligator, because she's not green, she's kind of blue.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what you are. I think you're an alligator,
lizard
but you
is-
might just be a large lizard. It's a mystery. But of course, the town of Possum Springs is your primary setting. And the platforming is very minimalistic, but very fun and interesting in that there are power lines everywhere because it's a regular town, right? And you can, for example, hop on top of a mailbox, hop onto a tree branch, hop on top of some power lines, scale the power lines, and then hop on top of a roof, and then hop on top of some window ledges. And it just is like very nice. It has a very natural flow to it. So the game's pacing is very appropriate for the environment. You know, it's not like Assassin's Creed where you're going around scaling stuff all willy-nilly like an
Stabby
assassin.
stab.
Yeah, you're not doing that. You're just scaling stuff for fun.
But it makes sense then and plays into the fact that you're a cat.
It does, yes. I think other people can do it too, but you might be especially good at it because you're a kitty cat.
You'll land on your feet if you fall.
Yeah, you do. There's no fall damage. There's no health bar. So there's no health.
Well, then it's not a real game.
It's not a real game. There's no health. There's no fighting. There's really only very minimalistic platforming. I've only encountered one or two puzzles, and I really hesitate to call them that because it's really not what they are. They're just how you progress through the game. But the entire point of Night in the Woods, and of course I haven't beaten it yet, but this is what I'm really going to make my full review of the game, because I don't think that there's much further that I can go before I'm at the end,
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to go too deep into the story, because that would definitely spoil what is really the crux of the game, is the story. So May's return home is very much framed, I wouldn't necessarily say as a failure, but the tone of the game has a very heavy sense of ennui. I think I'm saying that word right. Like that sense of just sort of nihilistic kind of existence doesn't matter. Why are we all here? Why are we even doing this? Why would anybody go to college? What's the point? Those are really kind of the questions that Night in the Wood tends to address. And it's interesting that it takes such an approach to these, because your main character of May, as far as I've learned so far, is really the least likable person in the game.
Oh, really?
So she's 20 years old. She's a college dropout, only made it through sophomore year. And in terms of her personality, she kind of sucks. Like, she's really not very likable. She tends to say a lot of things to her friends that aren't very nice. She's kind of socially like a bit of a screw up. Apparently, I haven't quite gotten to the bottom of this yet, but apparently there was an event in her past where she got into a fight with some other kid, I guess, and put him in the hospital. And so everyone in town, it's a small town, everybody remembers this apparently, and they're all like, "You're gonna go crazy again." So apparently she's had some issues in the past with anger management. It's mentioned a couple of times that she's required to see a therapist, I think, who has her journaling. And one of the things that may have actually been a trophy system in the case of Steam, because the game, I think, is available on Steam and maybe PlayStation. I'm actually not sure.
It's on PlayStation and
I think
Xbox,
it's on
I'm pretty
PlayStation
sure.
and Xbox, but I'm playing it on Switch. And as you all know, one of the biggest failures of Nintendo is the lack of a trophy system.
God, it kills me.
They really need to get on top of that. So I do think
Yeah,
that
it's out for everything.
Okay, so I think that one of the trophy mechanics of the game that is unfortunately lost by playing the Switch version is I'm pretty sure that her journal doodles might be trophies. That's just like a hunch that I have. But for example, I've got a few blank pages in my journal where nothing is there. So I don't necessarily think that it's like a tracking system. I think it's more like a trophy system. So I'm trying to get as many drawings as I can by doing any type of interaction that might prompt May to do a drawing. But where was I going with this? I really got off track.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, so the point is, May is not... She's not necessarily a good person. There's nothing especially bad or wrong with her. It's just that she's kind of got a shitty personality. She really talks down to her parents at a number of points where I was like, wow, that's really uncool to say. There's a particular conversation where I think she outright accuses, well, she doesn't accuse them, but she basically says something to her parents to the extent of, you guys are stupid for spending all of that money on me to send me to college because I just dropped out anyways. Like basically calling them idiots for trying to send her to college and get her an education and make her, presumably a little bit of a more well-rounded person.
Right.
And she just really shits on them for that. And it's like, why are you like this? And I think that that's unfortunately part of how the game is trying to, not unfortunately, but it's an unfortunate part of May's personality that leads to the game's primary storytelling mechanic. Obviously, if there's no conflict in the game, it's not like it has fighting. But so if there are no character conflicts, you don't really learn what Night in the Woods is trying to tell you. So I will say that in terms of themes and game's strengths, one of the strengths is the environment. It is fall when May comes home. It's very environmentally appropriate for this time of year. You do have a number of really interesting dream sequences because May has like a day and night cycle. So that when she goes to sleep, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't get this really interesting dream sequence where the colors are very neon and inverted and weird shit happens and really cool music plays. Actually, we're going to feature one of the tracks at the end of this episode because it's very cool. The dream sequences are really one of the highlights, I would say, in terms of spooky atmosphere. But more than anything else, I will say that gamers beware or be on alert for good things. The pacing of Night in the Woods is very slow. I've heard, I felt this myself, and I kind of, actually, I had a funny interaction with the internet, because I was like a few hours into the game, like maybe 3 to 4 hours in, and I had the thought, when does this game get good? And I typed into Google, when does Night in the Woods, and it like auto-completed for me, get good. Like, so apparently other people are also out there wondering, when is this game going to pick up? When is it going to get good? And I don't think that it's a knock against it that you have that question, because I think that that's part of the point. The point is, life doesn't ever really get good necessarily. Sometimes life is just living day to day, just doing the best that you can given the circumstances. And the entire town of Possum Springs is really not a happy place, I wouldn't say, because the setting is that it's a decaying mining town. You know, it's kind of a situation that a lot of America is in right now, where it's these post-industrial cities that have lost a lot of their manufacturing, they've lost what is essentially their economic livelihood, and now the town is just kind of in this slow state of decay, where people are all kind of feeling this very rundown emotion all the time, just because they can see it. Stores are closing, people are moving away, people are losing their jobs right and left, and they're not necessarily getting them back. So the game is really kind of about that. That's a big part of the storytelling, is just that, you know what? Sometimes life just really sucks. Sometimes it doesn't get better. Sometimes it's just going to be bad. And it's a hard lesson to learn, of course, for any person growing up or growing down in some cases. I do feel like May does a lot of growing down.
Yeah.
So a lot of the interactions with her friends, you know, because these are her old friends. She hasn't been home in 2 to 3 years. She's missed a lot, but she comes back home and she feels like she hasn't changed at all. Meanwhile, everybody around her has. Other people have grown up. They've gotten better in themselves. They've gotten better in their own relationships. And so in a lot of ways, she's very left behind. And it's kind of nobody's fault but her own. Like, she's made the choices that she has to be where she currently is. So without revealing too much about the story, I will say that it's a slow burn. It's not like there's a couple of really intriguing story mechanics that are kind of in the background. I think I might get to those more towards the end of the game, but I haven't gotten there yet. So in terms of it being a big wow factor game, I don't think it's that kind. It is more of that slow burn narrative storytelling experience.
Which has its place.
It has its place. I do think that it's a good game for the type of gamer that would gravitate towards this. I am enjoying it. Even at the times where I feel like, wow, nothing is happening. I just have to remind myself, oh yeah, that's the point. Sometimes you have days where nothing happens. Sometimes you get a virus on your computer and you have to go ask a friend to fix it. And that's the whole day. And it's like, well, yeah, occasionally life just kind of is boring and it sucks. So I might have different thoughts about it once I actually finish the game. But I'm pretty far into it. And from what I can tell, it's kind of it. So I wouldn't necessarily give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I think that it just depends very heavily on the kind of gamer that you are. So if this is what you're looking for, play it. It's not a full price game. Obviously, it's very short. It's available for almost everything. You can probably get it on sale a couple of different places. And it's worth it to have the experience, but not for everyone. You would hate it. You would have such a bad time. It is definitely not.
It doesn't. It definitely. I remember when it coming out and everything, and hearing about it, that it did get it did get some pretty. It was very well received and everything, but yeah, I can just tell it's not. But it is fun to hear about it, you know, and it is nice to hear that like you're enjoying it with everything.
I even know that, for example, like Sam would also hate it because she hates talking.
Yeah,
if it's there's a lot of talking in this game.
Yeah. Speaking of, slight detour, we did this last week, or maybe it was the week before. Overcooked 2 came out with its first set of DLC, which we bought.
Boy!
So we haven't finished it yet because we haven't had time, but we did play it one night and got into it. And it's hard.
Well, you couldn't play Overcooked 2 because you were living Overcooked 2.
That's right. That's right. So it was a lot of fun, but we've been playing that. But to circle back around, it does, yes, have trophies if you're playing on PS4 or Xbox.
What the hell? I knew it.
It's got like 32 is what
Oh my God,
like.
I'm so mad now. Come on, Nintendo.
Really though, like why do they
not?
Like, honestly, like I still keep picking up and going back and playing Breath of the Wild. And if I had things I know I could shoot for,
You're just so goal oriented.
I mean, honestly though, but like in games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey or in bigger games like that in RPGs, a lot of it of what helps decide what I do and where I go is to unlock these trophies.
Yeah.
And plus I feel like that helps me more learn and explore and enjoy the game. And with Breath of the Wild especially, I just keep coming back to it. I'm just like, what am I doing? You know? I mean,
that type of gaming isn't for everyone.
Right. I still keep coming back to it. I still keep trying to give it a shot. It's just going to take me years before I finish it.
I guess there's nothing wrong with that. You're savoring it.
Exactly.
You're savoring
it's gonna be a fine wine by the time I do finish it. I'm like, my God, this game. By the time I finish, that's what I'm going for. But to circle back again, also, yes, it was nominated for quite a few awards, actually, between South by Southwest Gamers Voice Awards, Golden Joystick Awards, Game Awards, DICE Awards, National Academy of Video Game Trade Reviewers Awards, Independent Games Festival, Game Developers Choice Awards, and the 14th British Academy Games Awards. It was nominated for several throughout all those different award shows. It won 3.
Nice.
5. It won Writing in a Comedy from the National Academy of Video Game Trade Reviewers. It won Most Fulfilling Community-Funded Game at the South by Southwest Gaming Awards in 2018. It won the Sumas McNally Grand Prize at the Independent Games Festival and the Excellence in Narrative Award at also the Independent Games Festival. And then finally, it won Best Narrative at the 14th British Academy Game Awards.
Best narrative,
story.
Best
it's like
narrative,
story.
And best writing. Really, that's the powerhouse of Night in the Woods, and that's where it has its best moments, because just in the conversations that you have with other people, sometimes the writing is very funny, and like I do have those laugh out moments where I'm like,
Any good puns?
Yeah,
not really, no puns?
Oh, so actually May's dad is like a stereotypical dad that has like dad jokes aplenty, and he does have some really, so one of the funniest ones, he did have to like explain it a little bit because I missed it at first. There's a point in Night in the Woods where you and your friends find an arm, like just a dismembered arm on the ground in front of a diner, and like you call the police about it because you're like, what is this arm doing here?
This does not belong.
And so it's one of like the mystery kind of things from Night in the Woods. But when you go home that night and tell your dad about it, you're like, Dad, we found an arm. And he's like, oh man, that's crazy. I want you to be careful out there. And May makes a joke. She's like, oh, well, she's not joking, but she's like, oh, you want me to pick up, mace or brass knuckles? And he's like, well, I would hate for you to be caught out there unarmed. I was like, that's super funny. I had a good solid laugh about that one. After it sunk in, and I was like, he got me. He dad joked me.
Son of a bitch.
That son of a bitch got me. So that was a pretty funny part of the game.
Nice.
So, Night in the Woods, great storytelling, great narrative, not stellar gameplay, really good soundtrack, really pretty to look at, very fluid. Even though the mechanics are very minimal, they are very fluid. More load screens than I would like.
I wonder though if that is again due to the console you're playing on.
It might be due to Switch. But anyway, so it has its ups and it has its downs, but I think that for this particular time of year and for the duration, that short duration, it could very well be a really nice fit for the season.
Awesome. Well, you've talked about the music, and you said we were going to feature that. So why don't you go ahead and then, as is tradition, to close out an episode with our soundtrack spotlight.
Indeed. So we are going to feature one of the tracks that so far I've encountered is one of my favorites. It's a track that plays during one of the dream sequences. It's called Astral Alley. Ooh. And then the soundtrack the composers, Alec Holowka, oh God, and Scott Benson again. That's
Scott Benson,
that bastard.
He's getting out there and making waves in the video game industry.
He's making waves. So Alec Holowka, how would you say that? It might be my Invisalign that's tripping me up.
Holowka.
Alec Holowka and Scott Benson are the composers for this.
And what was the song title one more time?
Astral Alley.
Astral Alley. So stick around and listen to that after the close of the episode. But again, just another reminder, don't miss our Extra Life 2018 stream on November 3rd, starting at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to probably see sides of us that you don't normally see outside the show, because we're going to be going on 24 hours of gaming. Who knows? We'll be different people by the other side.
We will be different people.
Even better friends or mortal enemies.
God.
But so you got to come watch to find out and see what happens at the end of our
We're going to have to
24-hour
put Fender
Extra Life
between us.
stream. Oh man, it's going to be a fun time. But I haven't played games for that long.
I've never
Probably
done it.
ever.
Yeah.
So,
no. It's going to be something.
I used to play, have Mountain Dew fueled all-nighters, but never
24 hours. It's going to be something.
It's going to be something. But it's going to be fun, and it's going to be for a great cause. So join us on November 3rd, 10 a.m. Central Time for our Extra Life 2018 stream. But that concludes this episode of Team Chat Podcast. Until next time, I'm one of your hosts, Jared Wilson, joined by Rachel Moga.
Adios.
Stick around for the song Astral Alley from The Night in the Woods.